welcome to Combat Thoughts. I'm Robbie.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Alex.
We're going to take a deeper look at culture and philosophy behind martial arts.
Rough.
Okay, so the nerdiest podcast we've done so far, which is saying something. I'm going to leave this one to you guys to start off with, because NFTs are not my wheelhouse.
Really, Robert? I never thought you'd own up to that one.
Go on, Lee. you crack on with it.
I guess you can probably start, Lee. I'm happy to chip in as well, but
so I don't think it's just NFTs. I think it's crypto as a whole. This started with Alex's recommendation around why it's suddenly popular in MMA. I have opinions as to why, but I think what we want to cover is like why MMA is being kind of dragged into the crypto NFT world, whether it wants to be or whether it's just happening, but what are the drivers for that? I have opinions on why, which are quite strong. So if anybody wants to come in with a kind of modest view as to why, then feel free.
All right, well, crack on with what the current sitch is.
So I think this probably comes, Alex interrupts me when I maybe misquote you, but it's focusing on why we're seeing a lot of fighters, so Darren Till and people like that, are promoting their crypto channels on YouTube, or they're promoting little NFTs of their faces. I know Michael Bisping's involved in one. There was that event in Manchester a few weeks ago, and that was kind of heavily sponsored by some MMA-related cryptos. And then I think there was like a rug pull recently where loads of people invested, loads of fighters kind of pumped it up. And then when normal people started investing, the owners just pulled their money from it and took all the money with them.
Oh. And then there's obviously the is it crypto.com sponsoring the UFC?
Yeah, so they're not a crypto in it. Well, they are, but they're not a crypto in itself. They're an exchange which allows you to buy and sell cryptos, but they've spent an absolute fortune this year. So they sponsor UFC, they sponsor Formula One. I think
I saw
the
F1 as well.
Football League. They're literally everywhere. They sponsor basketball. They bought the Staples Center in America. So they're really pushing. And I look at them slightly differently because I see them as like a more of a legitimate business. They're the exchange where you buy and sell cryptos, as opposed to here's our random shit coin we want you to buy.
Yeah. Well, I think with crypto.com, what's also maybe worth noting is that, so crypto.com, of course, is a sponsor. They also do have NFTs on their own platform. I don't know whether they're based on their CRO chain. You know, you'll know what I mean, Lee.
Yeah.
Or if it's based on like the Ethereum chain. But in any case, they're doing UFC based NFTs on their platform. But then there's also the UFC Strike, which is on a different platform, and those are the videos. So those are, for example, like when Israel Adesanya was during the press conference with Robert Whittaker, he had that little pendant, and it had him looping, like knocking him out. That was the NFT, which was the UFC Strike. So it was kind of like a fun thing to do for him, but also it was kind of promoting UFC Strike.
So is this the one where when they sell the NFT, the fighters get a portion of the revenue, something along those lines, right?
That's a really, I think we could definitely get into this because there was recently the two Diaz brothers.
Oh, shit,
and they released NFTs with the Diaz brothers, and Nate or Nick, one of them, was talking how it's total bullshit because they're not getting much out of it. So
no, I thought it was bullshit because it's something to do with CBD, which is fucking, of course it is. There's CBD and it's a giveaway. So yeah, the Diaz brothers aren't getting anything out of it because it's a giveaway and it's to do with CBD. So I think Nate was shouting about how his brother got however many years banned for doing the same thing, and it's absolute
maybe that's
horseshit.
a different thing though. I think there is an NFT thing as well, which they're doing. So maybe it's two things. Maybe
It was to do with NFTs. This outcry. I mean, the gist is that the UFC is getting very wrapped up in crypto and NFTs and blockchainy stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
my gut feeling with it is just it's the UFC desperately trying to make money in every way possible because of
So,
how much they got bought for in the first place.
so
So
it's a
now they're
little bit
just
of that, but
yeah.
there's something else to add on top of that. So, and this is kind of the good point I have to make today around this is when you look at things like the NFL, they're heavily regulated. They've got unions. They've got loads of protections in place. When you look at football in Europe, it's kind of quite similar. But then when you look at the UFC, it's kind of just like, crack on. Dana White and his mate ran it for a few years. So it's unregulated. It's free to go. It's the reason why the shorts had Condom Depot on it back in the day, right? Nobody kind of goes, that's a good idea or a bad idea. They just go, well, we can make money off this. And I think you're seeing kind of people jump into where in the past you used to have Condom Depot on your shorts. The UFC got rid of that with the fighter uniforms. The crypto space now is kind of like, we want famous people to promote our stuff. We've got a new shit coin that we want to pump to make some money off quickly. What can we do? We can give Darren Till 200 million coins and then get him to pump it on his Instagram. And I think the stuff around crypto.com is quite good. I think some of the things they do, so they do NFTs. And then if you buy them, you get the NFT to keep, but then you also get entered into a draw and you might win free tickets or you might get to meet a fighter and things like that. And I don't think the fighters are getting money for it. So there's probably that side of it, which is bad. But that feels a bit more legitimate. I think I can't remember the fighters who it were, but recently they all kind of jumped into this coin and they were all like, yeah, we're all going to be millionaires. This is great. Promoted it. And then when people started buying it, the owners just kind of took all the money and ran. And it's kind of unregulated industry going into an unregulated industry. It's kind of oil and flame, and at some point it's going to explode.
I think that's really interesting. You're right, because you don't really. Are there really any NFTs in other sports? I haven't, not to the level that I've been able to see it, like as much as it is in the mixed martial arts, particularly around the UFC. But yeah, like more regulated sports, they don't seem to be really doing this kind of thing. Like, yeah, the company you're talking about with like I don't know, the Darren Till, that's like this Block Asset, right? The company that they've got there, and they've got their own tokens, and you can buy their tokens or whatever, but it's also on their own blockchain. It's not like a Ethereum blockchain, which is obviously a lot more legit. And yeah.
And I think that's the thing. The crypto.com sponsorship is kind of a good thing for UFC. They get paid a lot of money off crypto.com. Crypto.com's a big kind of company that's got all the reputation you'd want from a well-established crypto company. But I think what it did do was open up the audience's eyes to crypto companies to then allow some of the more nefarious ones to sneak in on the back end and go, UFC have just legitimized crypto.com in a way for its fans who don't know much about crypto to say, crypto's a good thing, this is what UFC fans are now looking at a lot of. And then you get, I don't know, Ditcoin 123, and it's kind of like, come by us. And I am quite disparaging of shitcoins because I think they're a waste of time. But there's a lot of people who are going to kind of pump their money into it because they think, oh, we saw what happened to Dogecoin, or we saw what happened to Shiba Inu. And then everybody promises that. When you buy in kind of NFTs yourself, you look at their Discord and things like that and see how much of like a roadmap they've got and how far they're going to take it. And these coins that are kind of jumping in quickly are just kind of like very quick, get rich quick schemes. And I don't know, it doesn't kind of feel right. I don't mind the crypto.com sponsorship. I think that's good, but I just think us three could start a Combat Thoughts coin and then buy somebody famous to pump it on their Instagram and then run off with people's money. I don't know. I don't like it.
So, well,
sorry, go for it, Robbie.
See, I'm wondering about the unregulated thing. I'm wondering about, well, I've got an idea, but why the UFC in particular? Because Ju-Jitsu, if anything, is even less regulated than the UFC. because they have essentially the same rules,
Mhm.
but then none of them get enforced in Ju-Jitsu. It's even less regulated. You can like sponsor whatever you want, you can do whatever. I have seen a lot of NFTs related to Ju-Jitsu, but I've
Yep.
not seen a whole lot of people doing shitcoins or anything like that. Is it just the public appeal aspect? Is that why it's the UFC? It's just got a wider audience and that's why they're jumping on it?
So I think it's more mass market, isn't it? I think NFTs are still, if crypto is like relatively unknown in the wider world, then NFTs are even more unknown. So I think it's mass market, that kind. And also I think the age bracket of the audience. So I think the age bracket of the UFC in the US is kind of, I don't know, 25 and upwards men. So the kind of, well, you go a bit older, you kind of look at people late 30s, 40s, maybe not as in tune with tech as the younger people. Whereas the jiu-jitsu market's kind of led by younger people, probably because they're the only ones whose knees can still bend. And they probably understand NFTs a bit more and probably want to buy an NFT more than they do like a new coin. So I think maybe it's just the kind of markets they attract.
Yeah, so I guess we're kind of talking about two different things here, right? Because you're when you talk about the unregulated side and the issue with maybe some get quick rich schemes, that's more the shitcoin side. So it's some kind of token or whatever someone created, and it really doesn't. It's a pumped up value, whatever. But then you've got the NFT side, which is actually, if it's done properly on a proper chain, does inherently has more legitimacy to it, because it's a, let's say, not necessarily a physical, but like it's a digital, some sort of asset that you own. So do we think? Do you still think that? So do you think the NFTs are actually legitimate and they have a place to in let's say the MMA world and they have legitimacy, or do you still think that there are some things there that are
Me
being
personally, no. So I think most NFTs are kind of like shitcoins because somebody will tell you they're worth X, but they're only worth what somebody will buy. So Bored Ape Yacht Club's probably one of the biggest, right? And they have a huge network of people, and they have exclusive events, and they have like, it's like a status symbol now of wealth and being able to mix with that kind of wealthy clientele. So that I can see why there's value in that, because you get something else from it. These NFTs that people are making, again, us three could make a UFC themed NFT, and it's only as much valuable as people want to spend. Now, I don't care about that. You can do what you want. I think what I kind of struggle with is fighters promoting when they haven't kind of done research themselves into what they're promoting, and they're kind of duping fans into kind of buying a piece of shit that they can then make money off quickly. I know loads of kind of Instagram celebrities have faced a load of backlash for this, and you shouldn't be promoting shit and then ripping off your fans. Like it feels like a quick way to the bottom, right? You buy a Diaz NFT, and in 3 weeks it's worth 0 after the promise of it being worth, I don't know, 10,000 joints. You're kind of like, fuck you, Diaz. Like,
hey, well, they're the guys saying the opposite. They're the guys saying don't fucking buy it. So good on them. But
there's one person in MMA who is, I heard him talk about it years ago, and he's actually the most sensibly talked person in crypto in the MMA world. It's Ben Askren.
Now that I'll give you.
He's like, stick to the big ones, stick to Bitcoin, stick to Ethereum, don't buy shit you don't understand.
Didn't he get paid for the pool fight in cryptocurrency of some sort?
Potentially, I don't know.
I have a feeling he got paid in Bitcoin or Ethereum. I don't know.
Yeah. He's not asking for shitcoin 1, 2, 3, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so NFTs is a weird space for me, and I think, I don't know if I'm just like a boomer in this world, but I just struggle like to understand the value of it, other than just like an idea of, again, getting rich quickly, or like the possibility of getting rich doing nothing. Because I mean, inherently, okay, so you buy sorry, I keep shitting on the block asset. There's probably, to be fair, the NFTs kind of look cool. The images look cool. But like, let's say we've got the Hamzat Chimaev NFT, which is coming out or has already come out, and it's like a cool image of like a bear or something. I mean, I know this has been discussed at length. That it's just a JPEG. You can copy it, but it's not the same. I know it's not just a JPEG. I know it's it's not it's non-fungible. You can track that it's someone's, but even that, it's still just a computer generated image. So yeah, go on.
Yes, but isn't a lot of stuff like that, and it's not about it being like you're like, oh, maybe I'm just a boomer, blah blah blah, sort of understanding this, but this is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
Without okay, I'm gonna check the time because I don't want to go off on a big non-MMA related tangent. Are you aware about like the tulip bulb bubble? It was this ridiculous bubble where in Holland that people were buying and selling tulip bulbs, and they became so valuable that people were trading the promise of this particular tulip bulb next year, so you can have it and flower it and have it next year. They were trading the promise of that for stuff like houses, right? This is not a new phenomenon. This is something that's been going around for a long time. Bubbles are not new, and they're also not worthless in a way. They're like social constructs. Like money's a social construct. That doesn't mean it's not real. It just means that it's not got like a fundamental thing. It's just worth what people think it is. It's the same as any other currency, really. It's just that everyone agrees that it's worth this much, except if your NFT had like Vladimir Putin on it, just like the ruble, it's going to go and absolutely crash. And if no one agrees that it's worth anything, it's not worth anything anymore. It's just because everyone agrees it is. And I struggle with it. I think it's mental. But you know what? It still might work. I could buy an NFT, and if I know someone else is going to buy it, then the value still goes up.
Yeah. So I've only ever bought NFTs I've never bought them for like, I believe in the project. I've bought NFTs because I'm like, this could go up in value. And that's the only reason I bought them. And I realise I'm like the devil for not believing in the projects I bought. But
are you though?
When you look at sports NFTs, what I genuinely think they're trying to do is there's a gap, right, for the digital trading card, because they're huge, right? They're collectible. They're worth a lot of money. If you get some like baseball cards from like the early whatever generation, they're worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. Pokemon cards, same, right? Logan Paul wears them around his neck at WrestleMania. They're worth millions. There's a lot of companies now who are trying to get into the NFT space and sell sports NFTs to be the next trading card, to be the digital trading card. Now, they're so new, we don't know which one's going to win. So you kind of have to guess which one looks the best project and buy. Now, because nobody knows that's the best one, and nobody knows that's the one that's going to be valued in 10, 20 years, you're kind of just taking a guess on which one it is, and you're leaving the market open where we can be like, look, we've created, a Hamzat Chimaev JPEG. Now, I don't know how it works with image rights, because you'd have to pay the people, right? Because you're using a picture of them. Like, that was a big problem with the UFC game, wasn't it? They take all the image rights for the fighters when you sign a UFC contract and things like that. So I don't know how it works with image rights, and I don't know if they get paid. And if they do get paid for the ones that get sold by the UFC, great. I'm all for fighters getting paid more money. I think we're just in limbo where there's a lot of companies making NFTs around sports, and most of them are probably going to fail because it's not going to be the best one.
I think with the UFC as well, we still haven't really found out. I don't think it's been officially like released the kind of money that the UFC is willing to pay the fighters for a particular. Let's talk about the NFT, the UFC strike, because I think the NFTs which are on the crypto platform, they're kind of, to be honest, I find them really weird, because it's like a belt. You have like an image of a belt, and you buy the belt, and like there are like, I don't know, 4,000 released and something. They seem a bit weird, but the ones that are like videos, the repeated videos of a unique moment, those I actually find that quite cool. I think that's a cool NFT. But those
Yeah,
ones,
and this is how it all starts, right? Like
exactly,
someone thinks
yeah.
it's cool, 10 people want to buy it, the price jumps up.
Yeah,
It's really interesting point that you made about the tulips, because it comes down more to like human nature than anything else.
well, that's the thing as well. Like Elon Musk looks like he's going to buy Twitter. I imagine he'll incorporate NFTs into Twitter, right? So then your status symbol gets spread to your online profile. So we'll be the only ones with the Combat Thoughts NFT, and if Combat Thoughts blows up, we'll be like, yeah, we're the legends. Like it's worth a fortune.
Yo,
Like
can I just say
it's
one
just
thing about that?
socially showing.
Okay, sorry, I just want to say one thing about it, because I don't know if you guys have you seen my my little avatar on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a little man. So I messaged it was Full Reptile, so one of the guys from Full Reptile, because I bought something and I was just asking a question, and the guy was like, "Oh, that's a really cool NFT, mate." And I was like, "That's not an NFT. I just made it in my like." I was bored and I just made it. He was like, "Oh,
You
that's
should have.
really cool. You should sell it." And I was like, "Fuck, maybe I should sell it."
There's no reason you can't. And okay, this is going to veer a little bit away from MMA again. The only I find it interesting that these terrible NFTs have become valuable because, okay, people have started using blockchain to track where real art pieces, like who owns them, which is a great way to do it. It like will cut down massively on art like theft. Yeah, and forgery and stuff like that, right? That's a really cool way to do it. People are doing it with like diamonds and things like that. It's cool. There's lots of good uses for blockchain. It's this weird thing nowadays where people like shit looking things. They don't like shit quality things. They just like shit named and looking things like Boaty McBoatface and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's this weird phenomenon where we're just like, oh, it looks like crap. I'm going to pay a lot of money for it. Just and because of that, people are able to churn out whatever the fuck they want with all these coins and NFTs and stuff, including the UFC. They could probably start making some real nonsense stuff. And just
they already have some nonsense, to be honest. When you look at the NFT site, some of it is crap. It's only the UFC strike that's cool because it's like an actual moment in time. But that kind of comes down to what Lee was saying, right, with the social part. So even though it's crap, because it's got internal value, like it's got so much value, and you can put that, let's say in the future, you can put that on your Instagram that you own that piece of NFT, then yeah, your social status kind of gets bigger, right?
Well, I was going to say, you've seen contemporary art, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you got a point there.
No, but it is, right? And that the value people put on contemporary art, and it's always been the kind of tax loophole for the mega rich, isn't it? They all kind of agree which artists they like. They all buy them. The price goes up. Suddenly they've hidden their money away in a piece of art, which is now in a gallery. I'm not getting into tax evasion. Yeah, I'm not going on to a rant about tax evasion. But it's the same thing with like NFTs, right? You value them as to whatever society values them at. I think bringing it back to MMA, what really, and I'm a big proponent of crypto. I think blockchain is going to change the world forever. It's like a really good societal change that's happening. I'm just really against people in a position of fame and a position of kind of, I don't know, social power in terms of being more popular, selling shit that they know is shit or that they suspect is shit to the general person who's their fan, and then going, oh, sorry, didn't know that was shit, as they pocket £1 million as it's like gone to nothing. And it kind of, that's the stuff that doesn't sit right. For me, the only reason it's involved as heavily as it is in MMA is because there's a lot of people who watch it, and the owners of the UFC really don't give a shit. They've not got a union to talk to. They've not got lobbies that tell them not to do things. It's basically Dana White being like, fuck it, yeah, why not? And so, as with most things in the UFC and MMA world, they tend to try things first, and which has been great for them in growing the sport. They were the first ones to do something in COVID. I love that UFC came back in COVID. I wasn't as bored. Because they're not open to the same level of scrutiny, and when they are, they just kind of say "fuck you," and they've not got unions and lobbies that kind of, or fighters have the level of rights they do in other sports. UFC in particular becomes a place of experimentation, and I think NFTs and crypto being pulled into that experimentative world or environment just runs the risk of people getting fucked, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Do you think that NFTs have? Do you think that people producing NFTs and shitcoins have become? I keep saying shitcoins. Some of them aren't shitcoins, I'm sure.
No,
Some of them are
aren't.
actually
Yeah.
legit coins. Do you think that people producing these? The cynical part of me wonders if they know how poorly UFC fighters are paid.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're just like, yeah, let's let's run this into the ground, because you don't need to, like Ronaldo doesn't need to sell an NFT of him kicking a ball. It's going to be a drop in the ocean compared to how much money he's got. I've not seen Conor McGregor promoting any NFTs. Perhaps I'm wrong, but the
But
guys that
look
play
at huge stars in the US, right? So you look at the huge basketball stars, Steph Curry, LeBron James. Football, you've got people like Neymar. They all own Bored Apes. So they
Right.
own the biggest projects. They own the one that has a plan, has like groups where people meet to discuss investments and things like that as like fellow loaded people. So they're not on Dick NFT 1 or whatever. I'm using that because you've put a dick in your coffee, that's why. But they're not jumping into them, they're jumping into the big established ones.
Let's
feel
just
like
be
people
clear, he
don't
didn't
want that way
actually
out of
put a dick in
context.
his coffee.
Yeah,
but-
people don't know why I just said that, so that's really bad.
That's coffee art, not
Yeah, Robbie's been
not
experimenting.
some weird fetish, all right? Like it was coffee art. Anyway, yes, no, you're right. Like this is what I mean by they're low paid, and I mean I hate to say it, but a lot of UFC fighters, not all by any means, a lot of UFC fighters are either not the sharpest tool in the shed or not very well educated. And a lot of them might just be like, yeah, I need money because, of my medical bills that the UFC has got out of paying or something like that.
Yeah.
There's all
I mean-
sorts of reasons, but I wonder. My general point is, yeah, it feels like the terrible ones are being moved through the UFC because of the quality of treatment of UFC fighters.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I never made that link, but you're probably spot on, really, as well. They're probably really more amenable to it because of that reason.
In a way, it's actually, I guess, someone like Till actually is quite smart because he's not dependent. Like his project isn't dependent on the UFC. So when he releases an NFT, or like an NFT gets released in his name, let's say, he gets the money rather than the UFC releasing something with him in it and then it not being linked to him financially.
Mhm.
So, and
But then when the one that Till's involved with, or the one that somebody else is involved in, gets bigger than the one that the UFC is involved in. So the one that the UFC is doing fails, say.
yeah.
And then the general consensus is the best sport in NFT is this other one that the UFC isn't involved in. I doubt the UFC are then going to go, we lost. Carry on making shitloads of money. They're going to be like, well, we own your image rights. So do you know those millions of dollars you made over the last 3 years? Well, you're going to have to pay us some of that. And then we're going to take 20% of everything. So it's not, I don't think fighters are going to come out of this rosy. I think in the short term, though, the fighters are not going to lose. I think it's going to be people like us who go, that's a cool piece of art. I think this one's going to be the one that wins. And it's on my Instagram every time I scroll through. And then suddenly, you've spent £10,000 on NFTs and you'll never see that money again.
Yeah, I think this is where, like, I mean, this is going way beyond, but where the metaverse and things like that, they will really help to promote this, because you need some way of digitally showing that you own it rather than, because if it's just, on a blockchain and you have it, you can track it down to yourself, is one thing, and the fact that you can sell it. But the value of it will go up like so much if you can, as you said, on Twitter, you can put it on your Twitter account and it's there, and you can, just like you're in your house, you have a piece of art and you can show it. You will have some way of presenting that, and right, like in the metaverse, let's say, you can have it with you, like it's behind you as you're walking in the I don't know, I'm just spitballing.
Yeah,
but
no, it's true. It's, you're a collector, right? So on your Twitter profile, the same way famous people get the blue tick, you get a blue ring around your profile picture if it's a verified NFT that you own. Well, then great. Everybody looks at your picture of the same Bored Ape, and it's not got the yellow circle around it or the blue circle or whatever they want to do. And they go, you've not got it, you're a dick. Like, you've just copied it. So the real people stand out as the ones who own it. And then when you go into like the metaverse, same logic applies. You either go as a collector, like people collect Pokemon cards or football stickers or whatever else. Or
can you imagine?
Like,
I'm just thinking, can you imagine in the like you have a metaverse where you do like MMA stuff, and then because you bought an UFC Strike metaverse thing, you can actually use the moves that were done in that moment. Like you could go down that rabbit hole, and it gets kind of cool actually.
I mean, you're kind of right. Like I imagine there's going to be some sort of, maybe not that specifically, but I imagine that there's going to be some sort of someone is going to integrate some actual effect that your things on the blockchain might do, other than just them being valuable in their own right because people think they are.
At the minute, they're being used loads for entry into exclusive events and for competitions. And it works really well. If you own this NFT, we'll raffle off $1 million every month, and you can win $1 million. And premium bonds are the same approach to saving money for years. So why shouldn't you do something like that? It works. It's logical. It's fine. There's an incentive to invest in it. Now, as long as they've got the money to pay the $1 million every month or whatever else, then fine. I think a lot of people just cash in on animals because that's what seems to be the flavour of the month, and funny names, and then it's kind of like, take the risk. And also, I'm sticking up for the people who buy these stuff, and I'm kind of saying they shouldn't be getting ripped off. But if you're not doing your own research, it's kind of your own fault as well.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
You would disagree?
No, I can't disagree with that. Like,
okay, fair enough.
If you're just buying stuff because Darren Till told you to, and you haven't looked into it at all, you're a bit of a mug.
Yeah,
It's like telling you legit stuff, but you've got to at least check it out a bit more.
Yeah, you should be able to justify it to yourself beyond famous people tweeted it.
Well, it's like the penny stocks, right? Like people getting ripped off from penny stocks, but like, dude, I mean, you invested in a company that probably had no future, and you just went on someone's word, like in Wolf of Wall Street or something. So
yeah, I mean, I do think it's a little bit different with a Wolf of Wall Street style thing. If you're going out and being and predatory, like trying to convince people, because people get swindled. Smart people get swindled all the time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's just people are really good at what they do, and they decide to turn it into a sort of quite nefarious means. That's why I'm a bit more antagonized about. If UFC fighters know that they're doing terrible, like know that they're promoting nonsense and continue to perpetuate it, I have less of a problem with people doing stuff and they're not realizing that they're making errors. But you're right. You have a responsibility to finding out your own information and not getting ripped off. But also, if UFC fighters are ripping people off, they can also go fuck themselves.
They can fuck themselves even more.
Even more. All right. So we're kind of, I feel like we're, have we got any other big points to go through, or are we kind of rounding it out here?
No, I think it's only just worth saying to all our listeners, our OpenSea page is... I'm with you,
Combat Swords NFTs coming soon.
Oh God, can you imagine?
No, that's something I will always veto.
We'll make the brain coin.
No, I think
what we done it, but yes.
What we was wanting to cover today was around why crypto and NFTs are kind of hit the MMA world. I think we've made a few good points. As always, we've waffled longer than we should.
Yeah.
I've had fun.
And
so
we're
it doesn't
not
matter.
experts on the subject, but here we are.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please consider subscribing to the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram under the name Combat Thoughts. We'll see you next time.